Welcome to OM Report by Andre Alpa, your interview-focused podcast on topics from online marketing to internet startups.
Hi Bill, so nice to have you. Can you please introduce yourself?
I'm Bill Hunt from Back Azimuth Consulting.
Okay, so what does the company name stand for?
It's a navigational term that you use if you want to find the way back to something. So we came up with this name because we were trying to help businesses figure out how to find their way back to their customer by listening to the words that they were using to talk to them.
So it's like the kind of the typical thing about our search, that it's more like a pull channel, not like a push channel, because customers sometimes have their own terms how they think about their products. It's not necessarily the people, the customers that use the same terms.
Exactly. On push, we tell people and we want people to use terms we came up with, but not necessarily terms they use. So that was our idea. Let's look at the data and find the words they're using, and then let's let them ask us and talk to us, as Searches does.
I assume that's quite a while ago when you came up with the name, right?
Yes, it actually was from when I was in the military. We used it as a way to find sort of where somebody was shooting at us from.
Okay.
That's where the term came from, yeah.
Okay, not bad. But do you think everybody has understood finally how search works, that it's really a pull channel, that you have to use different terms rather than what you use in your ad as your tagline and so on?
I think intuitively people know, but we see this every day where companies will introduce a new product but won't even use some things that are very basic. So I think we still have a little ways to go, and it's sort of frustrating in 2013 that more people haven't figured that out.
So are you a one-man show, or do you have a team? What does your organization company look like?
Yeah, it's relatively flat. It's myself, obviously. We're a tool developer, so that's what we've been working on. So we have a group of developers, and we have a few other people that help us out. We don't do a lot of the analysis. We sort of enable companies to do it themselves, or an agency can do it. But yeah, being a tool developer, we can be pretty lean, and we know what we want to build, so it's really flat.
Okay, so what do your tools do?
So it's a keyword modeling tool. So you can load all your keyword data from paid search, organic search, site search, anywhere you can find information related to that contains a keyword phrase, and we mash it all up, and then we're able to go in, and you can use some segmentation functionality to say these words are a buy cycle, these words are an awareness cycle, and allows you to slice and dice across that. And really we've created a series of rules that if these rules are broken, we're like really chasing anomalies in the data. So if you have 1 million keywords, we try to find words that are sort of out of sync. Maybe
you're doing PPC for a certain keyword, but you're not targeting with any SEO efforts?
Exactly. These words are in paid, but they're not doing well in organic.
Or they're often used in site search, but you don't have them in paid, or these kinds of things?
Exactly. And we look for those correlations, and it's very interesting. We find cases where there are very high queries on the page, but not in paid search, or very high queries in site search, but we don't have them in organic. Some of the other filters we have that I think we try to play nice with both paid and organic, and that's really, it's the first tool that really has aggregated that data in one place. Two key things we can do with it. First off, I at the conference here, I asked people to go back and ask your PPC person to give you the 20 most expensive words by cost per click. Then take that list and give it to your SEO person and say, A, how do we rank? And B, are these on your to-do list? And it's very interesting. So far, just at this conference, I've had about 8 people email me back and say that most of the words they're not ranking for, and probably half the words weren't even on the to-do list of their SEO team. So that's still pretty shocking that we have that kind of disconnect. And it comes because these teams are siloed. Two other great reports that we like to do, and you can do these in Excel, is go in and find keywords that are converting well and have revenue in organic, sort it by your most revenue generating organic terms, and see how you're doing in paid. And in my presentation, I gave an example where they were making $79,000 in organic and $34 in paid. And then we do the opposite. We go into paid, find our best performing words in paid, and see how we do in organic. And we can learn from each other. So if we're converting well on an organic page, what are we doing on that page that we're not doing on our paid page? And paid is important because what we can do is we have a click rate that's high on our paid snippet. We can take that ad and actually make it our organic meta description.
Sure.
And so this allows us to take the two pieces of data, make them one, and find these economies of scale.
You're trying to figure out the CTR on the certain ads and then compare it to the, let's say, to the organic snippet.
Yeah, well, that's one of the factors. So let's say that
does a tool do that, or is that like a task that I can generate from it?
Okay, yes. So what we would say, what our tool will tease out will tell you that these words are doing well in paid. These are your 10 best words in paid that are also some of your worst performing in organic. And so the very first thing, like you said, is it a problem with our snippet? Why are we converting on paid but not organic? Yeah. It's even more true when we're converting on organic and not on paid. That's the one I think has the greatest opportunity. And then we have a third component with paid and organic, is we can actually see what happens when we have paid and organic side by side. And I think this may have been where you're going to, because let's say in paid we have a great offer that says, 30% off if you buy now, and organic might be, we're the largest, we sell the largest set of Oktoberfest mugs in the world, right?
Why do you say that?
As we're talking to a German audience, and Americans love Oktoberfest.
It's true, it's true.
So in our paid, we have a very concise offer, and our organic, we don't. And so what we're able to do is, using site links or fix our meta to script, our content, we can often take that positive ad in paid, apply it in organic, and very easily shift those through. And so it really gives you a way to see side by side. We're not saying one versus the other, but we want to get to the 1 + 1 is 3. And that's what the tool does. It does it in bulk, and most of our clients have about 1 million or more words, and so trying to do that manually is nearly impossible.
Just a question out of curiosity, because it seems like a solution for a very specific problem. For me, it feels like it should be a piece of a puzzle of a bigger SEO solution. Like, I don't know, like one of the many vendors showing off their big SEO software suites. They should have something like that in there.
Or you would think that.
I would. Or
you would hope that.
It would make sense.
Yes. Well, I think there's a couple things. One is many of their pricing models are a scale thing. So we're only focused on the keyword data, whereas their tools, they can go hand in hand. There's no reason, and we actually have a couple clients that take my tool, do all the data modeling and that, and then feed that data into something like a Bright Edge or a Conductor. Then what we're able to do, especially with like a Conductor, is we can take the rank data and that performance data from their tool via the API back into ours. Now, what
and
we
then
didn't
compare
want to do,
that to
exactly,
the AdWords efforts.
Right, and these guys do a lot, and sort of I can see the model is that it would be, to do that for 1 million words, if you're willing to pay all the processing power in that, if you're willing to pay, then they'll obviously do it. But it doesn't make sense to do it for everything.
Yeah,
so
like
that's
the
one
tools,
of the
they're more like
why.
specific for certain sets of keywords, and you go like for the broad, huge range of things.
Exactly.
So are your tools like, do they explain themselves, or is it like a part of the services that you do, just consulting how to use your tools and give people, better access to what they can actually get out of the tools?
We like to think that they do.
Okay.
Unfortunately, we
explain themselves.
Yeah, they explain it. So if you come to the dashboard and it says, these words are, like I said, these words are converting very well in organic but poorly in paid. That's fairly intuitive. Yeah. We have other things that say, like, all of these words, dropped these 8 positions, or these words had a 10% decrease in revenue. Fairly intuitive. But what we find the biggest barrier to our tool is that people, while this can allow you to focus in, and we actually show people how to use, it's called 30 minutes to search greatness, where in 30 minutes you can find a week's worth of things to do. Most people they fear that because now they have a week's worth of work to do. But it's very focused. So, we've had this challenge with that of being able to
just checking if everything works, but it does.
Yeah, good.
Sorry.
And so we've tried. We've spent a lot of time, and I think Avinash Kushag has really been helpful because he always insists on make it actionable. In almost everything we do, we've stayed away from pretty. So it's not pretty reports and management.
It could be a German
reports.
tool then.
It's functional. It finds the stuff. We don't need to make it look pretty. So Yeah.
Do you think Pretty would sell better?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't do software,
in America, Pretty would sell better. So it's aesthetically pleasing.
Why not get another designer when you have I don't know how many programmers, but
it's not pretty as in terms of the layout, but this producing reports. This is stuff that you can't really put in a report. I mean, here's a list of stuff to do.
Yeah.
You can put that into a pie chart, but it's not actionable. So what we want to do is say, these are 10 problems you have. Now take this and go fix it. Now
probably you need like a list of things that you've done, and then you see like the number of things that you have done ramping up, and then that looks beautiful.
And we can see that. We can see that part of it, but we haven't, we'd rather spend the time finding how to find the needle in a haystack, or the anomaly, or the opportunity. Because it is a very distinct group of people that have been using it. And then what's nice is that some of this stuff can then be tracked in some of the bigger, especially SEO suites that are out there.
How does do the tools work internationally, or do you have to adapt them for certain languages?
So the interface, everything's in English.
Yeah.
But having a Japanese wife who's also a top SEO, everything had to be double byte friendly, so we can do any language. My developers are actually from Belarus and Ukraine, so they understand. If they built everything to be able to handle Russian, and it was a mandate to handle Chinese and Japanese, so my wife would use my tool.
How long did it take to develop it?
We're now in almost our second year of development, and I mean it's fully people are using it. We ran through a number of things. Like, imagine the first thing of getting all this data and trying to mash it, and we encountered campaigns that you could never fathom. Meaning,
just too big?
Not too big. Size was never really the problem. It was the stupidity. Let's say you take a campaign. I would have never, in almost 17, 18 years of search, ever thought I'd see a campaign where a keyword was in all match types, multiple campaigns simultaneously. So we had to account for that in the database. We had to use, a keyword as a primary key, and then basically append everything else to that. So the amount of oddities we find in campaigns, and really how it shows us how inefficient most campaigns are really ran. That was probably our biggest hurdle. Scale was never a hurdle. I mean, we had used the cloud from day one. Everything was, our day one customer was people with more than 1 million words. 1 million words, 256 variables, you can do the math, it's a lot of data very quickly. So everything was engineered around that. And that's been probably one of the weaknesses. We're finding a lot of people in the 20 to 50,000 word range would love to use a tool like this. But it hasn't been a market we've went after, just mainly because people that are in that category, I think they would benefit from it. The overhead of trying to service them in that, I think, is we would need to be more of a consultancy and like a Raven or somebody that's providing services to people. But it's been going faster. I think this conference here really showed that, my session, we had a full house, 200 and some people. So people are just now waking up to keywords, and that it is the essence of search.
Yeah, it's like the beginning. It's funny.
It's the beginning, but it's really, if we step back and think about it, to your original point, why don't the other tools have this? And it's because it's almost an afterthought. And I did a survey and found about 98% of all the companies manage their keywords and somehow in Excel, and a few people built some small databases. But in 2013, again, the critical part of search, and we're still doing it in Excel for the most part, is astounding to me.
What have you been doing before the tool, if I may ask? Because the tool is just there since 2 years, but you've been in search for like ever.
Yeah, I have. So I've been really on all sides of it. I started out doing search on my own business, which I ultimately sold. And then that led into building an agency, which was acquired by WPP in 2000. I then went in and worked with companies like IBM, where I built the team, the first search team at IBM.
Consultant team.
I was the in-house at IBM. All the things that I did in my first agency, when I started working in-house at IBM, realized were wrong. So I rebuilt IBM in the way that made sense for us. Started talking about it at conferences. Next thing you know, I had a second agency that catered to embedding a strategist in the company, and we worked with, some of the biggest companies in the world. And then that company in 2007 was bought by Ogilvy. And in 2009, I basically retired from search, and that lasted about 6 months, and got bored and started seeing there was still problems. And that's where I really got focused on the keyword modeling and decided to build a tool really for my own use. I had a bunch of blogs and sites like that. I just wanted something. Then I started realizing that other people other big companies could use this, and that's where we're at today.
Right, great stuff. Thanks a lot for your time,
great.
Bill.
Thank you.
OM Report and Andre Alpa would like to thank you for your attention. You can get more episodes on www.omreport.com.